I suppose in one way, supporters of President Trump might be a little bit worried now. I mean, after all, isn't Joe Biden and Kamala Harris his perfect opponent? If they're swept out of the way, you're going to have to come up with new arguments.
Have you been reading my Twitter feed? Look, it is a bit of a catch-22. We want the president to perform, as he does during the debates. Last night he was measured, he was composed, he was collected. And at the same time, we want to run against Joe. I mean, Joe is the man responsible for the disastrous last 3.5 years, the 8 million illegals, the record inflation, the wars in Russia, in the Middle East, and the surrender in Afghanistan. So, yeah, it would be nice if they don't replace him in the last moment and the new guy says, hey, I didn't do any of that. But at the end of the day, it is rather delicious to watch the left implode. I mean, the biggest propagandists, the biggest prostitutes of the Democrat Party on the mainstream legacy media are saying, that's a disaster, we have to get rid of Joe. But that's really hard to do technically, especially if Jill Biden wants to stay the first lady. So I'm just going to buy shares in popcorn and I'm going to sit back and watch.
Let me ask you, of course, many people would argue just because it was a bad night for Joe Biden doesn't necessarily mean it was a good night for Trump. Of course, there was a lot of conversation afterwards about just how truthful Trump was in his responses. What do you make of that?
Well, I just went to CNN today and I looked at this segment they did right after the debate. And when CNN has 1, 2, 3, 4, so I've got pages and pages of CNN fact-checking Biden, saying all the things he lied about. I mean, just the most egregious things like no servicemen or women have died under my watch. I guess the family of the 13 servicemen and women blown up by ISIS when he surrendered Kabul airport, I guess that's news to them. So no, this is a binary choice. Biden crashed and burned last night. The Democrats literally are in a panic if you switch on the likes of CNN or MSNBC this morning. So no, there's only one winner last night out of the two people, and it's my former boss, President Trump.
And yet, Sebastian, for your deeply dysfunctional politics and the mess, frankly, of this presidential
the UK is much better,
election,
right?
I'm sitting over here in the United Kingdom, and I'm looking at not just our dysfunctional politics. I'm looking at a continent where, at the European elections last month, we saw a real insurgence, and this is all in the context, I think, of economic policy in Europe as a whole. You look at the growth. Germany spent most of last year in recession. We had a recession in the last quarter of last year. Looking at how the growth rate of European countries has been in the last 5 years, I mean, to the credit of whoever's in charge in the United States, or perhaps to the credit of the fundamental system of the United States and the restraint on executive power that exists under your constitution, the United States has had fast growth. The United States rebounded from COVID faster than any European country. I mean, surely Joe Biden's nothing to do with that.
Yeah, but by printing money. I mean, it's all a house of cards. I mean, we are just seeing $1 trillion every 90 days go down the drain. I mean, this is why we have inflation, the likes of which we haven't seen in a generation. But let's be clear, what happened in Europe a few weeks ago is stunning. It is the repudiation of an unaccountable elite that doesn't give a damn about the average Brit, the average German. I mean, think about what happened, the spanking Germany got. They lowered the voting age to 16, thinking that that's how they'll get all the crazy millennials. And then the conservative ADF just trounced the opposition establishment parties, or whether it's the recrudescence of Nigel Farage. I mean, if there's one guy who can maybe save Blighty, it's my friend Nigel. But no, there is a wholesale rejection of unaccountable elites who don't give a fig about the average worker, the average, Brit or American. And let's go back to look at what happened under President Trump. When he got government out of the way, when he deregulated, when he got the monkey off the back of the small and medium-sized business owner in America, the economy exploded. Every index for the size of the economy was the largest it has ever been since America separated from, the UK. The lowest unemployment for blacks and Hispanics since record keeping began. The first time ever we were actually creating so much energy, we had to sell it to other people. We had more energy, more gas, more oil than we could use and burn domestically. That's the power of President Trump. Why? Well, very clearly, because he's not a politician. He's not part of the, Oxbridge set. He's not part of the bi-coastal elites.
He went to the Wharton College of Finance. He's tried to run for president four times now.
But he's never been a politician.
He's a politician. Come on, Seb. You can't try
No, hang on. No. I've got to fact check you there live. This is a man who won the presidency the first time he ran. That's never happened in American history.
He mooted a run in the year 2000. He wanted Oprah as his running mate.
Mooting is irrelevant. Well, I can say I want to be an astronaut. Doesn't mean anything. He's not a member of the established
did press conferences about it.
Elite.
Oh, okay.
He was a businessman. He was a businessman. You know that, right? For 50 years,
Sebastian, I'm going to have to end it there. I'm afraid we've run out of time. Thank you so much, Dr. Sebastian Gorka.